Talk about these 38 Republicans who are urging President Biden to take a cognitive test. This was as we continue to see more evidence of his mental decline and forgetfulness on a daily basis. And here's the president yesterday, and we keep seeing this. Somebody from the wings saying, we're in control here, President, not you, and we got to get you out of here. Take a look.
I want to thank you all very, very much.
So, Mr. President, we're going to have to let you go here.
I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. So we're going to turn to
when does your
the
administration?
next.
Thank you. Let's go. Come on, guys. Let's go. Come on.
He's turning it over to somebody. He's the president, though. And here's Biden last week trying to wrap up remarks at an event in Maryland.
I don't want to get going because I have to keep you here too long because you know all what I'm about to, what I've said, and you know what I've done, and you know what we're doing, and you know what I know what you're doing. But let me close with this.
Wow. Who knows what anybody's doing? Let's welcome in now Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report. Dave, happy Thursday.
John, I know what you're doing. You know what I'm doing. We're doing the thing, and everybody's there. And how you doing? And what's going on? It's exciting. And I'm happy to be with you. How are you, Johnny?
Do we really want Joe Biden to take a cognitive test?
Well, look, I may not agree with any of Joe Biden's policies. I may not have voted for the guy. I may wish that someone else was president. But as long as he is president, or at least playing the part of president, I would hope that the president would be cognitively aware. I would hope that the guy knew what he was doing, that he actually was in charge. But it's becoming increasingly obvious that he's not the one in charge. He constantly is ending these press conferences saying, I'd like to take more questions, and then he gets yelled at by an aide, or I'm not supposed to say that, or some version of all of that. And it's like, who's really in charge here? Clearly, I mean, you can watch videos of him. You don't have to go back 30 years ago to see a massive or drastic difference. You can literally go back 3 years ago. The guy is significantly slower. He's having trouble reading the teleprompter. He slurs over words constantly. And again, I'm not saying any of this to belittle anyone with cognitive decline. I've often talked about it on my show. My grandmother had dementia. I spent a lot of time with her going to geriatric doctors and dealing with all of that. So it's not to be glib about any of this.
No.
But you want the president of the United States to be sharp. And I'm pretty sure that if any of this was coming from a guy known as Donald Trump, that they'd be talking about the 25th Amendment. Let's not forget, Donald Trump once drank water with two hands. Remember that?
Right.
A glass of water with two hands?
And he had trouble walking down an inverted ramp, or a ramp at the
Which
military.
Was wet.
Yes,
it was wet.
It was wet.
You should walk slowly
and Nancy
down
Pelosi
an
called
ramp.
for like a blue ribbon commission to investigate the 25th Amendment and President Trump's mental acuity and all that stuff. We remember it. And you know, I'm very in tune to what you're saying because I watched my grandmother go through Alzheimer's as well. And when you watch Joe Biden in that situation, you see his eyes kind of narrow and you feel bad for him. And there's no other way to put it. I'm not trying to be glib about this, but it's a concern. All right, let's leave that aside, Dave, because I want to talk about the don't say gay narrative that's being perpetuated in a lot of the media. We're not buying it here, but President Biden is all in on this. This deals with a law down in Florida. President Biden has condemned that law, which would ban the discussion of sexual orientation in primary schools. It's called hateful to the LGBTQAXYZ community. And here's Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg weighing in on CNN.
It tells youth who are different or whose families are different that there's something wrong with them out of the gate. And I do think that contributes to the shocking levels of suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts among LGBTQ youth.
So obviously, Secretary Pete didn't read the bill because that's not what it does. What it does is protects kids from being indoctrinated with the intersectionality gender section of CRT. They didn't read it, though.
Pete Buttigieg is a shocking liar, to use his cadence. That is just a version of the Obama cadence from a long time ago.
Yes.
Of course, they're not trying to teach anyone that you can't say gay or that you can't have gay parents in a school who will be treated equally as any other parent or anything like that. This is absolutely about exactly what you just mentioned there, which is as we have watched critical race theory and wokeism and all this intersectional gender stuff infiltrate all of our schools, they are literally teaching stuff about gender identity to third graders and sometimes even younger in public schools. We all know this, even though the mainstream media refuses to report on it and says, even when we show evidence that, oh, here are the papers, here's the homework that the kid has about gender identity, they say, no, that's not really real or something like that. We all know this is happening. This has nothing to do with saying that anyone's family is worse or that anyone is evil inherently because of their sexuality. But the simple truth is, do you want your children in a public school to be taught about gender identity? What you would want them to be taught when it's age appropriate, which is what this bill is about, is you want them to be taught about equality. Sure, equality and what equality under the law means and things of that nature. But this is what the left does with absolutely anything.
It does.
DeSantis is doing a perfectly sane thing to push back from their lunacy. And what do they got? Now he hates gay people.
And here's Congresswoman Michelle Rayner, who puts her pronouns in her Twitter profile. She's on MSNBC here. Take a look.
This is the slate of bills that the governor has that he wants to message to his base. And he wants to really say that Florida is a free state, but it's only free if you act like him, look like him, and are a Republican, or if you're a cisgender, heterosexual, white Republican man.
I mean, I hate to point out the obvious here, Dave, but according to that description, you're not welcome in Florida.
John, you know that I truly hate playing the identity politics game, and I think the fact that I'm gay is the least interesting thing about me. My husband's downstairs right now. I had dinner with DeSantis at the governor's mansion not too long ago.
What?
I was served.
That's impossible.
I sat at the very.
This is the guy who hates gay people. Come on.
I had the same filet mignon. I had the same delicious dessert. It was a chocolate cake that everybody else had. I was not told I had to sit in a lower chair or at a separate table. This is absolute complete nonsense. These people have nothing. They have nothing because their ideas are bad and are only rooted in everyone else is evil. They've got nothing left. So all it is if DeSantis, all he's doing, look, they created the problem here, right? If they didn't inject all of this gender lunacy and neo-racism into all of the schools across the country, then nobody would be pushing for bills like this. But nobody wants this, and we just need enough good people to stand up. So what? They're going to say you don't like gay people. They're going to say you're racist. Guess what? Life goes on, and you probably aren't.
That's true. Most racist people don't hide the fact that they're racist. You know. Let's also talk about what DeSantis is trying to prevent here. I want to focus on this clip from a debate at the Oxford Student Union. They're talking about just how bad meat is when it comes to gender. Here you go.
Meat eating is also one of the ways gender-based structures of oppression are perpetuated. Men in the West are taunted to renew their man card by eating meat because that's what real men do. That's the sexual politics of meat, and it reveals how unsettled masculinity really is.
She says we're sexualizing meat. There's sexy cows and sexy pigs, and it's our desire as men to stalk these things and kill them. And that's what, protein is, Dave. Now, according to this woman.
John, my fairly gay husband and I smoked it was about a 5-pound brisket the other night, and the meat was delicious. Okay. I don't think that was done in the name of the patriarchy or anything else. These people are ridiculous. We are surrounded by ridiculous people, and all we can do is respond to them all the time. Guess what? Eat whatever you want. If you don't want to eat meat, don't eat meat. You want to drink soy all day? Fine, drink soy. Or whatever else they got you, they want to mash up bugs now, and you'll drink that out of a straw, whatever it is. I enjoy a nice cut of beef.
All right, real quickly, Dave, I think you've restored some faith in your new Florida neighbors, but, I saw your tweet yesterday to Elon Musk, your dude, where's my Tesla tweet, and I think some of my Florida friends were a little concerned here. You live in Florida now. You want to get one of those big trucks, Dave, not a Tesla. When you tell your friends in Florida, hey, my boy from California is moving here, don't worry, he's based, there's nothing to see here, and then they see this tweet, they're like, whoa, really? Is Dave really based?
They don't want me to, them to think that I'm bringing one of them electric cars over to Florida.
Like, if you're going to live in Florida,
Tesla,
if you're going to live in Florida, you need like a
fun.
big giant Chevy truck with big wheels on it and some Trump flags on the back. That seems to be the Florida car right now, Dave, not a Tesla.
I know I should be driving Optimus Prime to make you people happy, but trust me, I'm doing everything else in accordance with Florida, man. Yesterday I was walking my dog. He hunted down and killed a squirrel. Now are you happy? He's eating iguana bones. I mean, trust me, I'm doing everything I can.
Well, you're acclimating, Dave, to the climate of Florida. It's great to see.
By the way, John, I don't blame Elon Musk. I tagged him in that in a sort of fun way. I don't blame him for this.
I'm just giving you a hard time about your Tesla, Dave. Nothing to see here. Just having fun with you. Great to see you as always.
Good seeing you, man.